Sometimes the brightest stage lights hide the moment you suddenly vanish from your own life. You know life has a funny way of surprising you. One minute, you're basking in the lights, soaking in the laughter of a live studio audience, doing what you love. The next, you're just gone. Vanished? Like a magic trick where the magician forgets to bring you back. That's exactly what happened to me on a cold Saturday night in January of 1995. I was 38, an Emmy Award-winning actress and comedian, working on a show called Almost Live. And then I literally dropped dead the audience. They just laughed. They thought it was part of the show. Can you imagine 100 people chuckling at what was in reality my very last breath? This isn't just a story about surviving. It's about the profound, unsettling silence of absence and the unexpected symphony of life that came afterwards. It's about how sometimes to truly live, you first have to step beyond. Before that fateful night, my life felt like a well-rehearsed, if slightly chaotic performance. I was a full-time cast member and writer for Almost Live, a Seattle-based sketch comedy show. I loved the energy, the creative chaos, the sheer joy of making people laugh. I'd worked hard to get there, earning my BFA in theater arts from the University of New Mexico and an MFA in drama from the University of Southern California, then finding myself on television after pursuing stage acting. I even won a Northwest Emmy Award for Best Talent in 1992. Life was vibrant, full of purpose, and endlessly amusing. On the surface, I was the picture of health for a 38-year-old. I rarely smoked, certainly not in my personal life anyway. I was active, regularly exercising, and in what I thought was the best athletic condition of my life at that time. I was the polar opposite of what most people think would have a person could have cardiac arrest, yet beneath that seemingly healthy exterior lay a quiet, insidious vulnerability I'd been aware of for years, but perhaps hadn't fully appreciated. You see, back in my mid-20s, I'd been diagnosed with an irregular heartbeat, an arrhythmia, and something called mitral valve prolapse. My doctors had prescribed a beta blocker drug therapy, and for the most part, I was diligent about taking my medication. I thought I was managing it. But heart disease had already cast a long shadow over my family. My only brother, Mark, had tragically passed away at the young age of 39, just 6 years before my own incident, from sudden cardiac arrest caused by ventricular fibrillation. His symptoms, his pathology, were almost identical to mine. This wasn't something our parents suffered from. It was, as I later learned, the combination of their genes that brought it forth in their 2 children. Looking back with brutal 20/20 hindsight, I remembered a couple of times before my event when I briefly passed out, my heartbeat always reverting to normal. I dismissed them as minor unheeded warnings. This time, there would be no reversion. Beyond the medical predispositions, I was a classic people pleaser. I disliked conflict, always aiming to smooth things over and make everyone happy. I wasn't a driven type A personality at all. I was more of a type Z, as I joke later. But this constant internalizing of stress, this need to always be fine. When I wasn't, it wasn't good for me. There's more and more research about the effect of general stress on our lives. I remember that night, my heart was already beating fast from nervousness about forgetting my lines. I could literally see it pounding my dress so tight and low cut, the flesh of my breast was popping up. It caught my eye. A silent, unheeded signal, a premonition of the electrical storm brewing within. The stage was set, the cameras had stopped rolling, and the applause was still echoing. It was around 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, January 20th, 1995. We had just finished taping our half-hour sketch comedy show, Almost Live. Our host was doing his usual post-show Q&A with the audience, while our director was conducting a technical check. It was business as usual, a typical Saturday night in the television studio. I turned to a fellow actor, probably to make a quip or share a laugh about a skit we'd just performed. I remember starting to whisper, "I don't feel too," and then silence. A profound internal silence as my world and my body simply collapsed. My heart, the very center of my being, had gone completely haywire. It wasn't a heart attack where the plumbing gets clogged like a kitchen sink. No, this was a severe sudden cardiac arrest, an electrical short circuit that plunged my heart into chaos. My beautiful heart, which I lovingly call Heather, my sinoatrial node, the head cheerleader of all my cardiac conduction cells like Brittany, Ashley, Brianna, and Jacob. She'd gone silent. Instead of a uniform rhythmic squeeze-release, pumping oxygenated blood throughout my body, each little cell was just wriggling, contracting on its own, a hysterical, chaotic dance. My heart was literally just wriggling. I was in ventricular fibrillation, the death rhythm. I was clinically dead. The irony of that night was almost cruelly comedic. We had just taped a sketch spoofing the popular TV drama ER. So when my body dramatically gave out, collapsing on the set, the audience, all 120 of them, simply assumed it was another joke. Wow, good stunt fall. She didn't even flinch, they must have thought. 100 people laughed, not knowing they were witnessing a real-life tragedy unfold. Even my fellow actors, though they knew it wasn't in the script, took a few precious moments to register the gravity of the situation. It took my coloring turning grayish, my eyes rolling back, and a strangled gasping sound, my agonal breaths, my dying breaths, for anyone to realize this was not a theatrical swoon. This was real, urgent trouble. And then a hero emerged from the laughing crowd. A young man, only 22 years old, a volunteer firefighter from the audience. He strode forward, knelt beside me, and put his fingers to my throat for just a few seconds. The studio, once filled with laughter, was now riveted in silence. And then he yelled, "Call 911!" He pushed me onto my back and immediately started vigorous, passionate bystander CPR. He was my living angel on earth. The chain of survival response began in earnest. The first professional responders arrived quickly, the truck and ladder firefighters, bringing with them a defibrillator. They took over the CPR, intubated my airway, and confirming I was in ventricular fibrillation, delivered the first 2 therapy shocks. Our audience was rapidly escorted from the studio, no doubt traumatized themselves. Their laughter replaced by shock. The paramedics arrived shortly after continuing CPR, administering intravenous epinephrine, and shocking me again and again. Time was ticking, each second a fragile thread. My heart wasn't coming around. It took a full 20 minutes, 6 or 7 defibrillation attempts before my heart finally mercifully started beating again. I was gone for at least 15 minutes. It was a miracle. A loud, shocking electrical miracle that brought me back from the brink of oblivion. You might expect me to tell you about a brilliant white light, a tunnel, or a profound out-of-body experience. But the truth is, my near-death experience wasn't a vibrant vision. It was a profound absence, a terrifying blank. I have absolutely no memory at all of about 5 days surrounding my cardiac arrest. It's a complete void. My family and friends, bless their hearts, have vivid emotional stories of those frightening days, moments of utter despair and frantic hope. But for me, it's completely blank. Imagine losing nearly a week of your life, not just forgetting it, but having it simply not exist in your memory. I was clinically dead. My heart literally wriggling in chaos, my brain starved of oxygen. Yet I remember nothing of the struggle, the pain, the frantic efforts to bring me back. It's as if a chapter in my life simply skipped, leaving me to piece together the narrative from the tearful, sometimes humorous accounts of others. This lack of memory, this profound nothingness, became its own kind of near-death experience. It wasn't about what I saw, but what I didn't see, what I didn't feel, what I didn't remember. And that in itself is a terrifying and humbling realization. It means that when I finally regained consciousness and became alert in my hospital bed at Harborview Medical Center, the sole-level eye emergency hospital in the Northwest, where I spent 4 days in intensive care, I wasn't traumatized by the event itself. I didn't remember the agonizing minutes of CPR, the shocking jolts of the defibrillator. Instead, what struck me most deeply was the look on my family and friends' faces. They were utterly freaked out. I could feel that my body was a bit beat up, but I didn't feel especially frail. It was their palpable relief, their exhaustion, their fear that imprinted on me the true gravity of what had happened. I had been gone, and they had watched powerless as I slipped away. My body may have been restored, but their hearts had been broken, at least temporarily. This blankness, this absence became a powerful motivator. I didn't have a vision of heaven or hell to guide me, no profound divine message directly communicated to my soul in that forgotten void. Instead, the message came through the sheer undeniable fact of my survival, and the intense love and terror reflected in the eyes of those who witnessed my departure and my return. It was a message that life is precious fleeting and demands to be lived with intent. Waking up to this blank slate, this second birthday, as I like to call it, brought with it a cascade of realizations. The first and most immediate was that I was profoundly lucky. My heart tissue remarkably wasn't damaged even after being gone for so long. Shortly after my time at Harborview, I was transferred to the University of Washington, where an EP team implanted an implantable cardioverter defibrillator and ICD in my chest. This was my very first surgery, and honestly, the experience and recovery from that initial implantation was probably the most traumatic part of the whole ordeal for me. But this little device, smaller than a pack of cards, became my constant guardian, my paramedics with me, 24/7. It's silently there, ready to shock my heart back into rhythm if it ever decides to go into that chaotic dance again. I've had 4 of them implanted over the years, each surgery, bringing its own risks and leaving me with aggressive scar tissue gummy worm skin, I call it. But it's a small price to pay for this incredible second chance. My medical ordeal forced me to confront the stark difference between a heart attack and cardiac arrest. Before this, I probably used the terms interchangeably like many people, but a heart attack is a plumbing issue, a blockage, a slow warning. Cardiac arrest. That's the electrical system short-circuiting, immediate and devastating. It taught me to pay attention to my body's subtle signals, those odd discomforts, even if it's not the elephant sitting on your chest. The most profound realization, however, was about self-care. My heart, this amazing organ, the first one created in our bodies as fetuses, feeds itself first. It doesn't wait for others. It prioritizes its own nourishment. And that became my central takeaway for anyone listening, as giving as you are, as dedicated as you are, to your jobs, your families, your social networks, your services that you volunteer. Take care of yourself first. Don't let your own heart starve and get sick because you're taking care of everyone else too much. It's not selfish. It's essential. And then there was the question of why me? I never went there. Never. Instead, my thought was always, why not me? Something is going to get all of us eventually. This perspective, born from the stark reality of facing death and the grief of losing my brother, allowed me to embrace my experience not as a burden, but as a unique opportunity. It made me incredibly grateful, and it ignited a fierce desire within me to help others safeguard their hearts. The humor my lifeblood as a comedian became my greatest coping mechanism. Laughter, I discovered, is truly great for the cardiovascular system, the stomach muscles, and the spirit. I learned to look for the humor in every situation, even the tough ones. It's a lubricant for relationships, a way to ease the discomfort, and a powerful antidote to fear. Of course, the occasional cry is good too. I had my share of big sob fests in those first few weeks, but ultimately, laughter became my anchor my way to navigate the absurdities and challenges of living with a chronic condition. I also learned the immense power of community. In those early brain-fogged weeks, I relied heavily on my family and friends to be my healthcare advocates. They asked questions, sought clarity, and helped me navigate the overwhelming labyrinth of medical information and bills. My advice to others going through similar situations: don't hesitate to ask for assistance or support from a wide circle of people. People really want to help, but often aren't sure what to do until they are asked. And ask for specific things: a DVD laundry help a ride. Cast a wide net. You'll be surprised by the outpouring of aid. My return to normal life after the SCA was surprisingly swift, at least on the surface. Just 2 weeks after I collapsed on set, I was back on Almost Live. I continued as a full-time cast member and writer for the remaining years of the show's 15-year run until it was canceled in 1999. But something fundamental had shifted within me. The stage, the studio lights, the comedy. It all felt different now. The phone started ringing almost immediately. Hospitals, emergency care groups, nonprofit heart organizations, they all wanted me to share my story. Due to my minor celebrity status in Seattle, articles on my SCA had been featured in regional papers, and people were curious and desperate for hope. I hadn't chosen to become a speaker on the cardiac care circuit, but it felt like it chose me. After Almost Live ended, it was a natural transition into a whole new career. Now, I dedicate my life to advocating for heart health and raising awareness about sudden cardiac arrest. My signature presentation, Drop Dead Gorgeous, is still my most sought-after talk. I share the details of my SCA, the contributing factors, how it affected my family, and how I manage my lifestyle for optimal heart health. I speak often for the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women initiative and at numerous medical centers. I have another talk, Dead Been There Done, that which focuses on embracing inevitable shocking change. And for healthcare providers, I share Healing the Broken Heart, emphasizing the crucial team approach between patients and caregivers. My presentations are not lectures. They're filled with humor, just like my comedy career. I show clips from our ER spoof ERR, which always gets a laugh. I talk about the common misunderstanding between heart attack and cardiac arrest using my simple plumbing versus electrical system analogy. I teach people about CPR, encouraging them to think of the Bee Gees' Stayin' Alive rhythm, 100 beats per minute for chest compressions. It's about empowering people to take action, because you never know when you will be the one in the room who can help. I also emphasize that defibrillation machines are easier to use now and come with verbal instructions. Beyond the big stage, my life has found a new rhythm, both literally and figuratively. I'm involved with incredible organizations like the Hope Heart Institute, the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Association, and the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation. I encourage everyone to learn about their heart health factors, blood pressure, weight, cholesterol, blood sugar. Living with an ICD means airport security will never be the same again. I've developed a friendly little patter for the process of the pat-down screening, treating it as a mini massage, and even requesting double squeezes on my feet for potentially threatening materials because I love foot rubs. My vanity sometimes takes a hit from the keloid marring of my skin from surgeries, but it's truly a small price for being alive. As a single woman, not being allowed to drive for months after my SCA was probably the toughest lifestyle adjustment. But these are minor inconveniences in the grand scheme of things. I still have to remind myself and others that we survivors aren't fragile things. While being hovered over and tended to is loving and necessary, initially continuing to be treated as a fragile thing ultimately keeps a survivor from actively enjoying the life their caregivers have worked so hard to restore. We need to be lovingly and firmly encouraged to thrive, not just survive. And I do thrive. I assertively live my life and try not to put things off. Even with an ICD, there is always that proverbial bus out there that could have your name on it. This winter, I plan to squeal with joyous bliss as I whoosh down a zip line through a snowy forest. I can barely wait for the flakes to fall, though I'll be sure to take my beta blocker first. Having an animal companion has also been a huge coping aid. My now departed Siberian Husky dog toughed out that first solo night with me after my SCA in 1995. And animals are patient, don't care how your disease changes. Your appearance are non-judgmental. Help take your mind off of yourself and are a fantastic incentive to get out and exercise. I find immense fulfillment in this new chapter. When people write or call me to tell me they've taken action to protect their hearts after hearing my story, it truly strikes a chord. It's deeply gratifying. So what have I learned from literally dropping dead and coming back? It's more than just the medical facts or the importance of CPR, though those are vital. It's about recognizing the incredible fragile miracle that is your heart, and indeed your entire life. It's about understanding that our bodies are temples, intricate electrical systems that need our attention and care, not just when they break, but every single day. It's about finding humor even in the darkest moments, because laughter truly is medicine for the heart and soul. It's about leaning on your community, letting go of the need to be fine all the time, and allowing others to help you. It's about advocating for yourself, asking questions, and educating yourself about your own health. Most importantly, it's about choosing to truly live with every beat of your amazing heart. Not just to survive, but to thrive. To grab onto opportunities to experience joy, to cherish the people around you, and to embrace every single precious moment you're given. I'm still here, and I'm deeply, profoundly grateful for every single breath, every single beat, and every single opportunity to share this story, hoping that it inspires someone else to cherish their own miraculous heart. Now, if you'll join me, I'd like to end with a promise, a pledge that I lead all my audiences in. It's a heart pledge of allegiance, a simple yet powerful reminder. So place your hand over your heart and feel that amazing organ beating. Just for a few seconds, feel it. Appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to my heart, of the united organs of my body, and to the blood vessels for which it pumps. One human, under stress, in this busy world, with love for me, and just bliss for all. Thank you. Love your heart. Cherish your life.